Welcome to our monthly masterclass for the Empowered You community. This month on Success Habits for the Purpose-Driven Entrepreneur. How's it going? Happy Wednesday. I hope you're having a fabulous day. If not, change that. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Now, as you're coming on in, or if you're catching the replay, two things I'm going to ask. Number one, make sure you have a pen and a paper because we are going to dive into some things today that you might want to write down. And also, put yourself in a winning environment. If you're at work right now, or if you're driving, or if you happen to be in an environment that's really noisy, do your best to, take a moment to let everybody know you're going to need just a few moments. We are only going to be live for 30 minutes today, so I'll try to pack as much as I possibly can into our 30 minutes. But do yourself a huge favor. Trust me, it makes a big difference when you can show up and be ready. All right, so let's get started. Now, first thing I want to ask you is success. It's what we're reaching for in life, and even in business. For those of you that are owning your own businesses or running your own businesses, or running your own life for that matter, right? We want success. We want it to be successful. And whatever that is for you, right? No, I don't want to define success because success for you is maybe different than success for me. But we want, right? Do we have a plan in action for that success? Do we have a plan in place? And if we do have a plan in place, is it working? Do we even know what that plan might look like? Do we know how to create a plan, right? These are all thoughts that we're going to be kind of talking about and thinking about today. So let me ask you, how would you like to learn the success habits that will help you achieve your dreams? Yeah? Does that sound good? Cool, because that's what we're talking about today. So if you want to learn the answer to that question, you're in the right place. All right, so just a really quick introduction so you know who I am. My name is Danny. I am a hypnotherapist. I help people get out of their own way so that they can find peace in the chaos. So a little bit about my background is I have a BS in psychology. Yes, BS, a Bachelor's of Science in Psychology. I was in the financial industry for about 18 years, and in 10 of those years, I held positions in management and leadership. I was also in senior training and development specialist, where I got to coach a number of people through sales, through leadership, through coaching. And so I took all of that experience that I had, and I started my own business 2 years ago. And so I'm also a hypnotherapist, a master executive coach, life coach, and master NLP practitioner. So I've got a few tools in my tool belt. But that's all the education stuff, right? But there's the fun stuff. This is the other side of Danny, because I'm not all about just my degrees. There's more to me than that. There's more to me than just that, right? So a little bit about me. My favorite thing to do, a hobby of mine, is to sing. I love to sing. I've been singing, well, since my parents say, since I could talk. I had my very first performance when I was 5 years old. Yes, kindergarten. We had a lovely show, and I got to sing in it. So it started off very early, continued all the way through school into college, and now I get to sing all over the place. We do a lot of open mic nights, my love and I, and we recently just sang for seniors at a senior retirement home, which was absolutely fun. I'm also a coffee tea lover, so yes, I said that, right? Coffee and tea. I like to combine the two together. I brew a batch of coffee, and then put a tea bag in it. I don't know, something about the flavor. Just one day I loved it, so I kept with it. So now I drink both together. I'm a meditator. I've been meditating for the past 3 years solidly, which I have found so much value in doing, and I highly, highly recommend all of my clients to do it. I love it so much, in fact, that I started including it in all of my coaching sessions with my clients, and I am now going to be teaching it here in a local city nearby. So to say that meditation I think is important is an understatement. I'm also a nature lover, love to be out in nature, whether that's at the beach, at the park, or just putting my feet on some grass. Trust me, I love to be out in nature. I met the love of my life, my partner in business and life, just over 5 years ago, and we have an absolutely beautiful life together, and I can't say enough about him. You'll probably hear much about him throughout our either talk today or in future talks. I also am an avid reader. I read every single night. There's all kinds of different books from teen books. Actually young adult fiction, let's get it straight, young adult fiction, all the way up into books on business, books on leadership, books on money, self-development, all of that stuff. So there's a wide variety that I like to choose from. Also, my music taste too. Music's all over the place as well. I love music. We listen to live music as often as we possibly can. The summers are the best because we get to go out into the park, into nature, and listen to live music. So that's a little bit about me. You'll see some other things on there that I absolutely love to do. My website is thepeaceteacher.com. You can learn a little bit more about me there, and you can follow me on social, where I share kind of what's going on with me. So there's also some fabulous tips there. So I definitely check it out if you're not following me already. All right, so that's a little bit about me, but are you ready to kind of dive into what these habits are and how you can achieve exactly what it is that you want simply by figuring out what this is, right? You ready to do that? Good. So before we start identifying what our success habits are, I want to take a step back and define as simply as I possibly can what habits are, and then why do we want to have habits, or why do we want to have success habits for that matter. So we'll go ahead and dive into that now. All right, so simple definition. Habits are things we do daily without thinking much about it. Wow, that is a lot of things. Think about this for a second. Habits are the things that you're doing without thinking much about. So when you got up this morning, you probably had a morning routine. When you got in your car, you got in your car and just drove to wherever it was that you were going. Did you really think about that? No, not really, right? You just automatically got into the car and did it. Now, maybe when you were learning how to drive for the very first time, you were probably thinking really hardly about it, right? I remember when I was 15, I was learning to drive a stick. That was so manual, right? The hardest thing probably, I was trying to learn from my father, who had no patience for me. And it was such a struggle. I had to think about, okay, the clutch and the gas and the brake and this stick thingy. And it was just overwhelming, right? There was a lot to think about every single step. Plus the mirrors, there's like 3 different mirrors you got to look at. There's so much going on. I was thinking about every single thing. Now when I get in a car that's a manual or stick shift, right? I just get in and drive. I don't even think about it anymore. Well, that's what these habits that we have are. So why are these habits so important? Well, habits can be extremely useful, right? And it would be impossible to run our lives without them. Like, seriously, we would not be able to do certain things if we didn't have these certain habits in place, because they automate many of the routines and activities that we have in our lives. What they do is they free up our minds so that we are capable of concentrating on higher level activities. Even breathing can be thought of as a deeply ingrained habit. Even breathing, think about this, breathing is a habit. So if we had to consciously think about breathing, right, we would be so caught up in thinking that we wouldn't be able to do anything else. I mean, if you literally sat here and thought about your breath, and this is one of the things we do in meditation, right? We focus on our breath and we concentrate in on it. When we do that, right, we're it's hard to do anything else because you're constantly thinking of inhaling, exhaling, right? And then you take that step out and you start focusing on and just observing it from this kind of like outer perspective. Right? As you're doing that we don't consciously think of that. You're not consciously thinking now about breathing, are you? So what it does is it reduces the amount of sensory stimuli that we have. So it's less energy that we have to often put out. Our brains are always looking for patterns though. So this is why we're constantly seeking to have some type of habit, some type of routine, some type of pattern. Our brain is always looking for this. And the thing with our subconscious mind, because our subconscious mind is where everything is kind of controlled, it's the powerhouse of our mind, it actually does not know the difference between what is a good habit or a bad habit. It accepts whatever is being given to it that is repeated over time. So anything that is repeated over time can become a habit, good or bad. So let's talk about that for a second, right? So we probably know what good habits and bad habits are, but let's just look at it from this perspective just for a second. So bad habits, I love this little kid, right? Bad habits lock us into negative or rigid patterns. This is these behaviors that we do that are automatic. Think about it. Automatic. We don't even think about it because habits are automatic, right? Things we do every day without consciously thinking about it. These habits stop us from achieving whatever it is that we desire. They stop us from achieving that goal. They stop us from living the way we want to live, from having the relationships we want to have, the friendships, right? Maybe it's the car or the house or the vacations that we want to take. Might even be the clients that we have, the customers, right? It might even be the amount of sales. Bad habits is what stops us from doing the things that we want or from having the things that we want. I was talking to a client earlier today and I asked her, oh, so, normally her clients come from one certain way. And right now she doesn't have any of that going on. So I said, okay, what are you doing today to get new clients? And she just kind of looked at me like, I'm like, okay. So she has this habit, which is not serving her goal of, getting so many clients a month or making a certain amount of income. She has this habit of just relying maybe on this one way of achieving clients. But because there's, that way is not happening right now, it's kind of like, oh, I guess I don't do anything, right? That's a habit. So in order to break that, we got to identify it first, that is a habit that's not serving us, right? And then we can switch that or shift that into something that is helping us. So those are the bad habits. We know what bad habits are. Well, we also have good habits, right? So good habits they serve to create more routine, more order, and more efficiency for us, right? If you think about having an order, having efficiency, what happens to that? Productivity goes up, motivation goes up, happiness generally goes up, right? Everything starts to flow. You feel in this kind of flow state, right? So good habits, those are the things that are pushing us to achieve our goals. Those are the things that are helping us. Those are our success habits, right? The habits that are pushing us, that are serving us to achieve success and whatever that is for us, right? Whether that's the car, the relationships, the money, the clients, whatever that might be. So step one of any goal is to start establishing a daily habit. You start establishing a daily habit of whatever this goal is. Remember earlier I said that the subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between whether something is good or bad. It just accepts whatever is repeated over time. Well, that's exactly the same thing here. Something that is repeated over time, in this case, a daily habit, is going to become something simple. That's not going to, well, it could harm us in some ways, right? Or it could help us. Well, if we have days where we don't want to work, have you ever had those? Or you just did not want to work, you wanted to lay on the couch all day? Trust me. Or go to the beach, right? I live in Southern California, so the beach is not that far from me, and trust me, some days I would much rather be on the beach or by the pool. But yeah, there's the thing is that when we have these habits, this is where the motivation, a lot of people are like, Danny, I need more motivation. If I was just more motivated, I could achieve my goals. It's actually not motivation. It's actually a habit. The habits that we have are going to, if think about it, if you are not thinking about having to work or to do a certain act within your work, let's say, and you don't feel like working, well, that's not going to make a difference, because this habit that you've created, right, is going to kick in. This is where the motivation comes in. It's not that you need to pull motivation out of the air and have it for the day. It's that you've created these habits. If you talk to people who are, predominantly focused on working out, right? They're exercising, they're at the gym every single day. If you ask them, do they want to go to the gym every day? They're going to tell you no. But it's become such a habit for them that they don't even think about it as being a good or bad thing anymore. It's a habit. They just do it. The same with eating well, right? Making better choices in the food that you're eating. The same idea. You start eating a certain way. I knew a girl that at the time I was not eating the best. It was, college, and fast food was cheap and convenient. And so I was constantly going to the drive-thru. Well, this particular girl had made it a habit that whenever she went to a fast food restaurant, such as Jack in the Box, she would order a salad. She would always get a salad. It didn't matter what time of day she went, when she went, it was a salad. She always got a salad. Well, my habit was to get the French fries, right? That was my favorite thing to get. But her, over time, she had created this new habit, so she didn't even think about it. The first words out of her mouth were salad, right? This is what habits can do for us. So, all right, so we've kind of talked about habits for a bit. Now I want to dive into a little bit more specific about success habits. But in order to do that, I want to take a look at this wheel of life. Now, in this wheel of life, there are 6 categories. And yes, we could probably expand this out to more. We could probably condense it. But this is what I have found to be ideal. When we start looking at these 6 categories of our life, pretty much everything falls into place here. Now, under each little slice of pie, so to speak, there's even more that we can dive into. If you think about family and friends, right, your relationships with family and friends maybe is a little bit different than your relationship maybe with yourself, or maybe a loved one, maybe a partner, maybe your husband or wife, right? We think we can slice that down even more. If you look at career and finances, you might be able to separate out that a little bit. Overall, it's a way that you're bringing in money though, right? So as we look at this category of life wheel, what I want you to do is I want you to take one of these areas and say, okay, if I were to work on this particular area in my life for the next, 60, 90 days, and I really honed in on this area and I got some success habits around this area of my life, what could that create for me? So go ahead and take a look at this wheel right now. This is where that paper and pen comes in handy. Go ahead and take a look at this. And if you were to shift just one of these areas in your life, this might be an area that you are doing pretty good in, but if you kicked it up a notch, it would be like, wow, you would just see a huge difference in your success. Or maybe it's an area that's, it's kind of been the one at the bottom of the list of priorities. Maybe you know that you should be working on this part of your life, but you just, for whatever reason, have not really focused on it. Or maybe you're in transition, right? Maybe you're going from one thing to another, and whatever that might be, you might be starting something new in one of these categories of life. And you're like, if I focused in on this, this is going to really impact my life. So go ahead and pick one. And it doesn't have to be super specific. You don't have to say it's this relationship or it's, when I think about emotional life, so let me just clarify that because a lot of people can get confused. This is talking about emotional mastery. This is talking about you personally. So when I look at this, I look at more self. I look at my relationship with myself. I look at how I manage myself, how I take care of myself, my self-care. That's kind of where I kind of put emotional life in. All right, so now you got your area. I want you to think for a moment. Where are you now? Are you in transition? Are you shifting things? Are you changing things? Are you starting something new? What are you doing in this particular area? And go ahead and take a moment and write some notes down. Where are you now? What are you doing as it relates to this particular area? What activities, what habits, what thoughts, what ideas do you have as you look at where you are now? Go ahead and jot those down and allow whatever comes to you to come to you. Trust your subconscious mind. It's going to deliver to you whatever you need to know at this moment. So let it come out and write whatever that might be for you. Don't judge any of the answers or the responses at this point. Just let them out. You may be starting something new. You may have wanted to start something new, but you haven't done it yet. Maybe you had a new idea. Maybe you wish you could be doing something different. All right, so now that we've kind of looked at where we are now, I want you to think about where do you want to be. As you think about that category of life that we just discussed, where do you want to be? Where do you want to be in that particular area? If you chose health, you might say, well, currently, if I looked at where I am now, I don't have, an exercise routine. I'm not really making the best choices in food. I'd really like to have an exercise routine, right? Okay, so where do you want to be? Well, yeah, I want to have lost, or not lost, but released some weight, right? Maybe it's that. Or maybe it's that I want to have this new habit of, going to Jack in a Box like my friend and always ordering a salad, right? Or making better choices in the food that I'm eating. So where is it that you want to be? We always want to know where it is that we're going, because our minds are so amazing that when you give it direction, it will find it. It will follow it. It will attract everything that you need to have that goal. But you first got to know what that goal is. So this is where we create that. Now, as you're thinking about that, where you want to be, again, allow your subconscious mind to tell you whatever that is for you. It might be things that you've heard from other people. It might be things that you see other people doing that you wish you had. When I talk about people with their relationships with their children, or even relationships with their partner, I always ask, well, what would you like to have? If you want to have a better relationship with your child, that is great. So what does that look like for you? What would you be doing? What would they be doing? Oftentimes it's better communication. I want them to talk to me, right? I want them to tell me about their day. I want them to come to me. I want them to know that we can have fun together. Perfect. Sometimes it's, I want them to listen when I talk to them. I want them, to have more discipline. I want them to pick up their room, right? What is it that you want? Where do you want to be as it relates to that particular area? Just take a few more seconds. So now that you've thought about where you are and where you want to be, one of the things I'm going to challenge you to do is to think really quickly. And you can mind map this out like here in this image that we're seeing, where you have a circle in the middle of your main idea, and then you just kind of have some supporting things that might come out of that. But as you look at your past 30 days, even your past week, what were you doing in this particular area? You talked about, or you wrote down already where you were. You might want to look back at that and kind of write some notes down of the things that you were doing. Think about the last 7 days. Think about last week. I know it can be hard, but trust me, once you start thinking of things, you'll kind of think of some others. Let me prompt you with some questions. So, what did you do? What were you thinking? What were some of the actions that you took? Maybe some of the things you wanted to do, but you didn't. What were you doing the past 30 days as it relates to this particular area? And as you think about that, even if you're writing it, that's great. If not, if you're just thinking about it, just kind of think about that for a moment. What were you doing? What didn't you do? What did you do? Maybe what new thing did you start? What did you complete? Where was your energy? How did you show up? As it relates to this particular area, how did you show up? So, what worked? What was working for you? What was easy for you? As it relates to this particular area, the actions, the habits, the beliefs, the thoughts, how did that work? Or what did work? What was working for you? What was serving you? These are the things that you want to keep doing. These are the habits that are serving you well. These are the success habits for that particular area. Now, what didn't work? What was a struggle? What was hard? What felt overwhelming or stressful? What feels like when you think about doing it, it's like, oh, no, I don't want to do it, right? I often talk about people in sales, right? I help them with their sales, and they're like, the phone, I can't call people. I can't make these calls. I can't do it. The phone feels like it's 50 pounds, right? Those are things that are hard. Those are things that are feeling heavy for you. Those are the things that might not be working, or those are the things you could probably easily identify. Most people can easily identify the things that didn't work. We tend to focus on that. So those things, the things that are not working, those might be some bad habits. Those might be some habits that aren't serving you. Those might be the areas that we need to shift. Those bad habits, when we identify them, that's where we can start to see success, because we've identified them. We know that those aren't working. Well, now it's time to shift them. So let me ask you, if those things aren't working, and you know the things that are working, what new habits can you now create? What new habits can you start working towards? So what I want you to do is I want you to think about the things that were working and the things that are not working. And I want you to come up with at least 3 things that you can do. 3 action steps that you can take over the next 30 days, the next 60 days, maybe even the next 90 days to start shifting into these success habits. You see, I can tell you what habits successful people have. I can tell you what has worked for some people. But honestly, are they going to work for you? Oftentimes, we try to focus on applying these other habits that other people tell us, but we already have great stuff that we're already doing. And we can try these new habits out, see if they work within our own rhythm, and then see the results. You've already identified what success in this particular area looks like for you. If it's something that's not working for you, and you identified a lot of habits that are struggling and that are hard, that are heavy, that's the area, those are the things that you want to shift. Those are the habits that we want to create into success habits. You already know what they are. Now, as we start to wrap up for the day, what now? Oftentimes, we get started and then, bam, we run into this. What do I do? Where do I go? Right? This is one of the main things that stops us from achieving all that we desire. Confusion, discipline, support. This is what I have the privilege of doing. I get to work with people. I get to help them shift those bad habits. I help them get out of their own way so that they can have the habits that are successful for them. I help them find their rhythm. I help them navigate through all the categories of life so that they can show up as their best self. They can honor who they are, and they can have everything that they desire. This is what I get to do, and I absolutely love it. So if you feel like you've gotten some really great information and you're kind of like pumped, like this is how I want you to be, right? Pumped that you know what you need to do. You've identified what is maybe not working that needs to shift in your life. And you're feeling like, I'm ready. Awesome. I'm super excited. I would love to help you push through that because you're going to get to this road. Trust me, I've done it a million times. I see my clients get there all the time. They get stuck, and that's when they come to me. They don't know which direction to go. They need an outside perspective to help them see what they cannot see. You see, our awareness sometimes is kind of closed off in a way. We only know what we know. And when we can see past that, or somebody can open it up for us, it can change everything. So what I'd love to offer you today is if you feel like you would like some extra support, if you want to just review this kind of these habits that you have and maybe some tips on how to shift them, or maybe you're already achieving success and you're like, I wonder what else is possible. I would love to hop on a call with you and see how I can help support you in achieving all that you desire. I believe every single one of us deserves to have exactly what we want. And that is what I get to do. So if you would love to hop on a call with me, I would love to hop on a call with you and chat about how to turn these not so good habits, these habits that are not serving us, into success habits. Now, you can visit thepeaceteacher.com/free call and schedule your 30-minute chat with me where we can review what we uncovered today. Now, I know we only had 30 minutes and we're actually going over a couple of minutes, so my apologies for doing that. But I wanted to let you know that there is help out there, that I would love to guide you. These are some of the areas that I get to work in, that I help my clients shift in, see better results in their life with, even in areas where they're doing well. I help them get even better. So join me. All right. So that is it for us today. I hope you have seen something maybe new, or maybe you were reminded of something you already knew. Again, we meet every single month as part of the Empowered You community. These free masterclasses are a way to help you live empowered, a way for you to learn how to honor your best self and how to show up as the amazing person, the amazing lady boss that you were meant to be. next in-person session, if you're local here in Southern California, September 12th in Pasadena, we will be having our in-person session, which will be live in person. It's a great opportunity to network with like-minded people who are focused on growing themselves and growing their network. And then our next virtual session, just like this, is on September 26th at 12. That's actually wrong. It's 12:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And so thank you so much for staying with us through the end. Thank you so much for catching the replay. Thank you so much for showing up live. I hope you have a fabulous day. And if you want any more information, if you're curious about anything, give me a call. You can hop on the peaceteacher.com/free call and set up a 30-minute chat with me. I would love to help you achieve success. All right, that is it for us today. Remember to be you and to be amazing. Bye.